secrets behind these magic tricks are like an itch you just can't scratch. Coming up, you're going to see impromptu tricks that are anything but. ABC covering up a secret with digital trickery, and how Pepsi hired someone to fool all of London. And make sure you keep watching, because the last trick on has people reacting like this. Number 10. Will Size Coin Matrix. The coin matrix is a trick every close-up magician knows. Cards cover coins, which teleport one by one. All it takes is dexterity and misdirection. Will's size trick is similar, but more impressive, and when presented on America's Got Talent, he went viral. Mel B's jaw dropped, Heidi looked like she'd been kicked in the face, and we actually saw Simon Cowell crack a smile. It started as expected, but turned into something completely unbelievable. Will stopped concealing the magic, and the coins teleported out in the open, culminating in a transformation into red rose petals. The trick was accomplished not with feats of dexterity, but engineering. That table is the real star here. The area under each card contains a mechanism to either reveal or hide the coins. His foot operated a disguised foot pedal which activated the switches. There were 4 separate mechanisms for the rose petals in the middle of the table. The engineering is brilliant, and the trick itself does indeed look very clean. Maybe a little too clean. Like, why can't we see the mechanisms that work when slowing down and inspecting the video? Captain Disillusion showed that since some of the coins remained stationary when they should have moved with the rest of the video, it was clearly edited. After the performance, the producers saw some imperfections that the live audience missed. They went in and digitally cleaned it up to hide the mechanisms and make it look even more impressive. It's not difficult to believe after all. Broadcasting a seemingly impossible magic trick will only make the show more popular and earn them more money. Number 9. Mint through jaw. During an episode of Nevermind the Buzzcocks, magician panelist Dynamo is asked for an impromptu magic trick. He smiles and offers some mints to the other panelists. And it's not just a warm gesture, but the first step in a trick. Once they've verified the mints are real, he puts one in his mouth and casually takes off his necklace. The necklace seemingly penetrates his skin, and when he rips the necklace back through his neck, it's threaded through the mint. No, the necklace isn't gimmicked, and yes, that is a real mint. The secret is in what he did to his neck before the show started. He applied rubber cement, a magician's best friend, to his neck. When the necklace pressed against it, his neck folded, sticking to itself. As he grabbed the necklace to pull it off, he threaded it through the mint hidden in his hand. After he ripped the necklace off his neck, he released the mint from his hand and it slid down the chain, making it look like it had been pulled out from his neck. If you're inclined to mess with your friends and scare your family, you can do the same thing at home with some string and a glue stick. Number 8. AGT Snowman Trick. Matt Franco updated an old favorite on America's Got Talent. He presents a large box in gift wrapping, making sure not to reveal what's inside until the end. As he displays a large book, it's clearly shown that each page has something different on it. Snowmen and costume pieces. Matt flips through the book. Using the judges as participants, they choose a separate head, torso, and bottom costume. Everything is seemingly decided at random. He then reveals the box, which contains a snowman dressed exactly the way in which the judges specified. This is accomplished through the Svengali phenomenon. Every other page in the Snowman book is identical. They're also cut slightly shorter. The shorter cut ensures that when you rifle through the pages, they always fall 2 pages at a time. The result is just as good as magic. If the pages drop one way, they all appear different. If they drop in the opposite direction, you can force a page even though it appears to be random. Number 7. Penn and Teller's Bullet Catch. It goes like this. 2 volunteers sign 2 bullets before Penn and Teller fire them at each other's mouths. The bullet usually passes through a piece of paper or a glass pane to prove the bullets really left the guns. They finally reveal the other signed bullet in their mouth, but if you've got a keen eye, you can spot how they do it. It involves a mixture of sleight of hand, clever props, and backstage help. The audience members first sign the tips of the bullets, and then both Penn and Teller place the bullets on their hand to get a close-up for the camera. This is where the trickery begins, as they use sleight of hand to pocket the real bullet, and then switch it with a blank, or wax bullet. Penn diverts the audience's attention to selecting a colored pen to sign the case. Then, as the audience members sign the case of the fake bullet, Penn and Teller cover the tip of the bullet with their fingers, because seeing another bullet at the tip would really give the trick away. The real signed bullet inside their jacket pocket is then reclaimed by an assistant behind the stage and planted inside the other magician's bulletproof vest, which conveniently backed onto the wall while they fumbled around putting their masks on. This allows Penn and Teller to mount the signed bullet while the vest slides over their head. When fired, either the wax has enough durability to break the glass, or specifically designed transparent squibs are used to put holes through the glass. So all in all, it's a very well coordinated trick. Number 6. David Blaines' coffee coin trick. You've heard of turning milk into cheese, and surely heard of turning water into wine. But what about turning coffee into coins? This isn't some clever metaphor. We're talking about David Blaines' TV special where he approaches a homeless man, takes his coffee, and turns it into a cup of coins. It's kind and visual, but how is it accomplished? The cup has a false bottom, which hides a sponge. David Blaines sticks his finger through a hole at the bottom of the cup, lifting the false bottom and allowing the sponge to absorb the coffee. The coins were there the entire time, but were only revealed when the coffee drained. But YouTube video! Why is a homeless man walking around with a gimmicked coffee cup? Well, it's not too difficult to imagine a member of the filming crew approaching the man earlier on and giving him the cup. He would have just assumed it as a genuinely nice gesture from a random member of the public. They could have also given it in exchange for him signing a release to appear on television. Number 5. Dragons Metamorphosis. The husband and wife team of Jonathan and Charlotte Pendragon aren't just magicians, they're world record holders. They made the Guinness Book of World Records under the entry Fastest Transformation Illusion with their most famous trick, Metamorphosis. The trick happens so fast and so visually that it's the closest thing to real magic you might have ever seen. Jonathan steps into a bag which is tied at the top to prevent escape. The box is locked shut, eventually. Charlotte steps on top of the box and lifts a cloth. In the blink of an eye, the cloth drops to reveal Jonathan standing in her place. He opens the box to find his wife now tied in the bag. The masked magician does his best to debunk this one, but this time he's actually missed the mark. His entire setup is different. The Pendragons don't use extra assistance, they stand on top of the box rather than behind it, and they take a fraction of the time to complete the trick. However, he did reveal one piece of the puzzle. The bag contains a zipper, which allows for escape even though the top is tied. So how did they accomplish the rest of this award-winning metamorphosis? In the Pendragon version, after Jonathan releases himself from the gimmicked bag, he escapes the box through a false back and remains hidden there. When Charlotte lifts the cloth, he quickly climbs behind her and she jumps down. It seems too fast for a human to accomplish, but that's explained if you take a look into their background. You see, they're both trained gymnasts. In addition, Charlotte's a dancer and former bodybuilder, and Jonathan has experience as a springboard diver and martial arts expert. The Pendragon's bodies are fine, oiled machines. They each possess both the skill and raw physicality to pull off a switch this fast. Number 4. Free bus ride. Pepsi hired British magician Dynamo to perform a public stunt in London to get attention. He levitates up to a bus, holds the top, and remains floating in that impossible position as he rides around London, right in front of a Pepsi ad. First things first, the bus driver and passengers are all in on it. At the end of the video, when he levitates down, the bus is completely empty with no spectators. No, they didn't just get off the bus, because that bus route was bogus. The London Transport website doesn't list a normal schedule for a 5:43 bus. There's a holiday schedule, but the route listed wouldn't drive the bus past Big Ben like we see in the video. Secondly, we never see him move the arm attached to the bus. A German magician went on the record saying he does a very similar trick where the arm is fake. It's actually a metal pole disguised by a latex arm. This pole is secured to the bus and holds the harness he wears under his clothes. His real arm is just tucked by his side. And the levitation part? Well, with the suspicious way it was edited, that could have been achieved by a number of ways, from editing tricks to a lifting system of some sort hidden from view. Number 3. Zig Zag Girl. The trick goes like this. A woman steps into an upright cabinet, sticking various body parts through holes. The magician puts sturdy metal blades through the box, seemingly cutting her in 3. He then pushes the middle segment to the side to prove this isn't just a trick. The box usually has an illustration or silhouette of a woman painted on, which emphasizes how impossible this really is. This painting is actually the first part of the illusion. Obviously, there's no requirement for the girl to stand in that exact position depicted. And she doesn't. As the blades are inserted into the box, she turns her flexible body to the side. To make it easier for her to make the squeeze, the blades are more narrow than they appear. The full width handles obscure the actual size of the blades. When the magician pushes the middle segment of the cabinet to the side, she doesn't have to do much at all. just move her hand along for the ride. Number 2. The Death Saw. David Copperfield's shows border on art, and his tricks defined a generation of magicians. One of his most visually stunning feats was the Death Saw. In the routine, an escape trick seemingly fails, and a giant rotary blade cuts him in half. His assistants separate the severed halves of his body before he spins back time, restores, and escapes. The secret to this trick, and many others like it, are explained by the design of those big boxes and tables stage magicians use. The bottoms are deeper than they look, allowing for secret compartments. Add the liberal use of stretchable spandex, and you can easily make a magician's apprentice disappear. Copperfield is simply hiding half of his body, bent over in a slightly awkward position with his legs in front of him, while using somebody else to act as his legs. The whole shenanigans beforehand with the black box locked over him allowed both David and his assistant to contort into this position before the blade cut him in half. Number 1. Regurgitating frogs. Recently, David Blaine appeared on The Tonight Show and explained a rather strange story.
100 years ago, there's a guy that converted his stomach into an aquarium where he could store live creatures, and then he could bring them up at will.
He then downed some water and regurgitated a live frog. After the trick, he swallowed the frog again. He's done this before, summoning multiple frogs in a row to prove the creatures weren't just hidden in his mouth the whole time. So how did he do it? Well, the secret is, there's really no secret. He really does swallow the frogs. But he's learned the art of regurgitation. Regurgitation tricks like this are nothing new. They all stem from water spouting that dates back to at least the 1600s. It involves drinking as much water as possible and spouting it out in controlled streams of water. Haji Ali pushed the trick further by drinking kerosene after water, so the kerosene would sit on top of the water in his stomach. This would allow him to light the fire and then put it out with the water. The same method is applied to regurgitating animals, which is also rarely performed. Blaine referred to the magician Mac Norton, who was known as the Human Aquarium, before he performed his trick. Mac was known to bring up frogs and goldfish one by one, but the prospect of miscounting and having to digest a live animal is the real risk these magicians have to take. And that's why David Blaine can perform this trick while other magicians can't. He's fearless, and when he decides to do something with his body, he will. He was even the first person since Haji Ali to perform the kerosene trick, as he did in 2013 on Jimmy Kimmel's show, proving he had already mastered controlled regurgitation. But it's a lot harder to swallow frogs than liquid, as our gag reflexes pushes them back towards the mouth. To overcome this, Blaine had to learn to control his gag reflex through lots of practice, like sword swallowers do. To practice this, magicians have been known to swallow a potato attached to string, allowing them to pull up on the potato to learn how to control the stomach muscles necessary to push objects to the mouth. But how does the frog live in his stomach? It's full of acid after all. Well, either Blaine diluted the contents of his stomach with water beforehand, or he kept the frog in his esophagus. Spending months or years to learn a trick like this is what it takes to be the best like David Blaine.